Welcome to Book Tease. I'm your host, Jamie, and this is the podcast that celebrates the power of well-written smut. We are in our Dark Academia series. Dark Academia is one of my absolute favorites, and I read Gothicana by RuNyx, and I always try to pick at least one, sometimes more, but at least minimum one book I've never read before that has been on my TBR each month for the series that I've picked, because that's the whole thing. You want to know exactly what I think about it. And I can't only pick books that I know I love, right? Right? So the first two books in this series were for sure books that I knew I loved. They were 5-star reads. I wanted to recommend them. I wanted to share them. So this is a book that has been on my TBR. I read Gothicana and I liked it, but I wasn't sure if the writing style was for me. But the storyline was great. The atmosphere was great. The craziness was great. And I read a review that said Enigma was like Gothicana, but better. And I was like, well, okay. If I just wasn't sure if I liked the writing style, but the story itself in Gothicana was good to me, and I really enjoyed it, and it was creepy in the best kind of way, why not give Enigma a chance, right? Come on. RuNyx is beloved by a lot of people. So let's see what we got here. Well, let's get into what I thought. As a reminder, this podcast does contain spoilers. I will spoil quite a bit of this book. So you have been warned. If you've not read it, you might want to pause, read the book, and come back. We are talking about Enigma by RuNyx. It is not available on Kindle Unlimited. I listened to the audiobook, and holy shit, if you want to listen to this book, if you want to read this book, I recommend the audiobook because, oh my God, Aiden Snow. It's a duet. And the first couple of chapters, or at least the bulk of the beginning, or not the bulk of the beginning, but at least a good 30 minutes to an hour is the female, right? We're talking about Salem and the narrator who is doing Salem's voice. Very nice. She does a great job. And then all of a sudden, this deep, sexy voice just booms through. It's Aiden Snow. And he does the voice for Kaz. And instantly tingles. And I'm like, oh my God. What? I had to pause. I didn't hear a fucking thing he was talking about. I was too fixated on the sexiness of this man's voice. So I recommend just for that. Seriously, it's so, so good. This is also a standalone, so you don't have to worry about any follow-up. In fact, there is a huge epilogue, so you have no questions what happens with these characters. Okay. Let's sharpen our scientific skills, I suppose. Brush up on the intricacies of old money and go off to Mortimer University, where every masterpiece hides a secret and every secret has a body count. And the majority of people here are fucking rich. Very wealthy, old money with all its secrets too. Our FMC is Salem Salazar. Fucking amazing name. My God. I love the names in Dark Academia. I'm going to say it repeatedly, but Salem Salazar. What an excellent name. She's the black sheep of her family. Her family of very old wealth. And it's something her mother never lets her forget. Her daughter Olivia, or her sister Olivia, is the fucking apple of her parents' eye, of her family's eye. She is amazing and the perfect child. She gets straight A's. She has poise. She has style. She has grace. Olivia is it. And everyone kind of forgets about Salem, except that she's the weirdo. She's basically the Wednesday Addams. She likes black. She's fascinated by death. She's incredibly intelligent and analytical. She compartmentalizes. She's not emotional. She's almost robotic, very cold, very aloof. And she's just always been fascinated with death and forensics and solving mysteries, and in a way she is not devoid of emotion, but it's very lackluster to her. She's not overly emotional. She's very cerebral. So if she has a question, she just says it. She says what comes to her mind. She reads as almost a little autistic, or maybe even a touch sociopathic, not in a bad way. I'm talking about clinically, as in she just doesn't quite compute why some things are inappropriate to say and why certain people would be upset by something she said. I mean, she's just like, and she realizes, hey, I'm upsetting people. I can't seem to keep my mouth shut. My parents are, because we get some insight into her childhood life. That's how the book begins. And then it flashes forward to her being 20 years old and going to Mortimer University. But okay, we find out a few things about Salem before she gets to Mortimer. We find out she falls into a lot of shit. Literally falls into things. She fell into a well when she was little, and the family dog's the only one who went looking for her and gave a shit about her until her family finds her ultimately because of the dog. And then later in life, she falls into her grandmother's grave. Pay attention where you're going, Salem. And again, the dog is the one who, nobody notices, and then the dog alerts or something like that. And I'm like, eventually the mortician, I guess, the person in the funeral director, finds her in the grave and gets her out. And then when she's also a child, she stops speaking for like a full month and nobody notices, because no one's trying to talk to her, I guess, but literally no one notices that she's not speaking for a month. So her family is like, they're like absentee. Like, they just don't even pay attention to her. Like, this is abusive. No one sees her. No one pays attention to her. She's just, you're the weird one. Olivia is the shining example. And Olivia goes to Mortimer University, and she sends back, because her sister wasn't like the sweetest, but she wasn't mean. Like, she was kind to her and, at least cared about her somewhat and stood up for her when people were weird to her or picked on her. And then her sister goes to Mortimer University because they're a legacy family. They're expected to go to Mortimer University. It's also a really prestigious school. And so her sister sends her letters to keep up correspondence. And some of the correspondence is a little weird from her sister. And some of it's just going on about professors and things that she likes there and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a huge scandal. Her sister commits suicide at Mortimer University. And she is not the only student that commits suicide there. Super weird, right? But after her sister commits suicide, her father goes crazy and ends up attacking and killing a Vanguard, which is another prestigious family, and it's just crazy. And then he kills himself. And so she's the only family her mother has left, but her mother is very aloof and doing her thing, and she will call her daily, but she feels like it's not even really, it's just a check-in for like society purposes and how they're seen. And she's just like, you're not about to kill yourself, right? You're good. She doesn't feel like there's any depth to her mother checking in, but her mother does call her on a daily basis. She doesn't believe that her sister's death was a suicide. She's like, there's something that drove her to it. There was something weird going on. I'm going to go to Mortimer University. One, they have a great forensic program. So she's like, we're going to learn forensic science, which is exactly what I want to do. I'm going to get to really study and be among other people who are equally brilliant and who are equally interested in this field of study. And it's not going to be weird. So maybe I'll find my people. So she's going to go there for that. She's also, like I said, a legacy. She's expected to go there, but she has an ulterior motive. While she's there, she wants to also crack the mystery of her sister's death. She wants to know what the fuck, like what happened? What drove her to commit suicide? Was it even suicide? She's going to break this mystery whilst she's there. She even has this murder board that has the little strings and the red yarn going from this to that and all her notes. Her first week there, just to really set the weird gothicness of this area. There's a huge castle. That's what the school is, blah, blah, blah. It's very gothic, very creepy, very atmospheric. It's everything we want in a dark academia setting, right? Her first week there, Salem discovers a dead body on the beach. And instead of freaking out, Salem goes down to the beach, is like, and starts basically processing the body. She doesn't actually touch because she knows she's not supposed to, but she gets out her notes app, y'all. She starts taking notes. She starts seeing like the little what's going on here and there. She full blown starts like investigating, like where could she have jumped from? Where would she be if she jumped from here? What is happening? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's this weird mark? What is this? And so she starts like taking notes. While she's doing that, a man shows up. And it's dark, of course. And she's like startled a little bit, but he's also really hot. And he is also not at all disturbed by the fact that they're meeting over a corpse. In fact, he is sketching on his sketch pad, and he's sketching Salem because he's intrigued by her and her wild curly hair that she barely even ties up in a bun because she does not care. She's always got these big glasses on. Her hair's wild and in a messy bun. And he is just captivated by her. And he starts calling her little asp. Like, because he says, and it takes her an embarrassing long time to realize this because this is our MMC. But he calls her little asp. And he talks about her hair being like Medusa, wild snake curls. And she doesn't even put it together that he's calling her little ass because of her wild curls, her Medusa-like curls. Little asp snake. I don't know why it takes her so long. But this guy is Kaz Vanderwall. And we learn out later his other name is Kaz Vanguard. Does Vanguard sound familiar? Oh, I'm jumping way ahead. But he is in the family or tied to the family that her father went nuts and attacked. Well, she doesn't know that, but he sure knows who she is. So it's a big enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers kind of dynamic between the two of them. That's very prickly. It's very slow burn. It's very him being obsessed and almost stalkery to her. He knows where she's at all the time. It pisses her off because she suspects him, like because he saw the body. And then she finds out he is the TA to this teacher that she's very suspicious of. He's a psychology professor that her sister wrote about a lot. However, he seems to barely even acknowledge that he knew her sister. So she doesn't trust him. She also is familiar with the fact that there is a secret, or she also knows that there is a secret society on this campus.
she knows because she thinks she might have brushed up against this secret society. She calls it's called Mortimer or something like that. And she thinks it might be responsible or involved with her sister's death. And it's just, she is like, okay, the psychology professor might have something to do with the secret society. And she is not sure if Kaz is helping the psychology professor. Anyway, she suspects him. She doesn't trust him. And he is just following around. And there's something up with him because you keep getting these little secret meetings, and she's seeing him do these little secret meetings. And there's even like a party where we find out like someone whispers to Kaz that, hey, she's not to be touched. She's protected or whatever. It's all very suspect. And anyway, he's mixed up in something. She also, in her first week, convinces the board to reinstate this scholarship because her sister applied for this scholarship. And all of these mysterious deaths were either winners of or they were all winners of this scholarship, including her sister. So they shut it down after her sister died. And yeah. So she plans to basically use herself as bait by applying and hopefully winning this scholarship. She wants to see why these women who are being targeted, how they tied to this scholarship, why they're being targeted. She's hoping she gets targeted so she can use herself as bait, which pisses Kaz off. She goes to visit her psychology professor in his office to ask him to endorse her application or to get a recommendation letter for him or whatever. She goes to visit him in his office. And when she does, during the course of her conversations, she sees her sister's necklace, along with a couple of other female trinkets, on his bookshelf, like trophies. And whoa, does it get her little spidey senses tingling. She is like, this guy is responsible in some kind of way. She is convinced he had something to do with her sister's murder or death. She's convinced. And now she's really unsure if Kaz is involved. And she really likes him. They keep running into each other. There is definite chemistry. There is definite tension. But she is like, well, now I really must hate him because look at this guy is obviously involved in my sister's death or murder or whatever the case may be, because now she's really not sure. And so she's like, maybe Cass is involved. I can't trust him. He's prickly to me. So he keeps telling me we can't be anything, even though we have chemistry. So I don't fucking know why, but I know I don't trust him. No, I don't trust him. So she decides she is going to sneak into her professor's office and steal her sister's necklace, or at least snoop around in there. Well, while she's in there snooping around, okay, this is what happens. The professor has a fucking alarm on his office, apparently. And so she sneaks in, the alarm's set off, and the professor shows up with a security guard or something. She hides, and Kaz ends up rescuing her because he has a key to everything, essentially. So he pulls her off, and they have to hide in the office for however long. She ends up falling asleep while they're hiding out there, and then he brings her home to her place because he doesn't have a home. He doesn't have a bed. It's very weird. He's like staying in a cave or something. So anyway, I don't know, y'all. Don't get me lying, but he's got his agenda. And so they start talking and they start communicating. And it's like, okay, she finds out that Kaz has his own agenda. He's there because his brother died mysteriously while at Mortimer. And so he's trying to figure out his brother's death, just like she's trying to figure out her sister's death. So, oh my God, they have a lot in common. And he's like, I'm also trying to infiltrate this secret society to see if they had something to do with my brother's death. And oh yeah, by the way, your father was a part of this secret society. And she lets him look at the murder board, and whoa, guess who he sees on the murder board? He sees his brother's picture, and he's like, freaks out because his brother had just disappeared. He didn't know his brother died until he saw her murder board. So anyway, they team up to help each other with their investigations. And this book is a lot of their investigations. And oh my God, they uncover this and it leads to this. And then this happens. Anyway, there's a lot of sexual tension and eventually it pays off. And there's a lot of good spice in this book, including them having sex out in the middle of the woods, but on an altar or whatever. It's very strange, but it's good and I like it. And it all falls into the realm of the Gothic. He begs her to let him paint her, and she falls asleep around him a lot, which is apparently a good thing because she doesn't sleep very well. She has a lot of nightmares involving her sister, but she can relax and her brain actually rests around Kaz and vice versa. So she becomes his muse and she lets him paint her. They get really close. They fall in love. They have great spice together. And anyway, back to the investigation. Salem accidentally sees a girl when she goes to see her very kind advisor. She goes to see a very kind advisor and sees a girl in his office. And it's a classmate that's actually not very nice. She's from an old family too, but she sees her giving this other teacher a blowjob while her advisor's just having a conversation with them. And it's very fucking bizarre. But I actually think it's her psychology professor that she's blowing. I'm not sure. Anyway, very strange. And then later on, like that same day, I think, she kills herself and Salem sees and tries to stop it, but she just like walks out into the water when there's a high tide and drowns herself. And it's very bizarre, very strange. And so she's like, there's something going on. And now I know for sure that even though my advisor has been super sweet to me and has been like, I'm here to help in any way, he's fucking involved with whatever's going on with my sister's death. This guy's involved. So, she tells Kaz and she's like, there's something weird going on. And I'm just going to cut to the chase of what's going on. Okay. This is what happens. And I might leave some stuff out because there's a lot. Turns out Kaz's brother, who was killed, was hired by Salem's dad to protect and watch over Olivia because Kaz's brother or Kaz's family was killed or they died and his uncle took over everything and including all of the money, and he cut out Kaz and his brother. And it was really shitty. He did it. So they were destitute, living on the street. Kaz's older brother was doing everything he could, including being a bodyguard and stuff. He was doing that to get enough money so that Kaz and him weren't living on the street and they at least could eat and that sort of thing. So, of course, he took the assignment to, one, go to Mortimer and get a degree, but two, to protect Olivia. And then they ended up falling in love, Olivia and Kaz's older brother. And then Olivia's dad, Salem and Olivia's dad, even was like, hey, I'll agree to a marriage because you're a vanguard, which is even though I know you don't have any money, if it's a love match, you are also from a really prominent family and we could get your inheritance back. He was going to work with them to try to get the inheritance back from Kaz's really shitty uncle. So it was all in the plan. But when Olivia was killed, Salem's dad got angry and killed, the uncle or whatever. He didn't blame Kaz's brother, but he was like, there's something fucking weird going on. And so that's why he targeted the vanguards. Oh, at least that makes sense now. And then he kills himself. Anyway, Kaz's brother ends up dying because of this group. And so that's what happened. So they figure that out. They figure out Salem's father was part of the secret society, but there turns out there's 2 secret societies on this campus. One is the one that Kaz is a part of, that Salem's dad was a part of, the one that's been around forever. And they're just, prominent people who have a lot of influence. And yeah, they don't always do the nice thing, but they're not going around killing people. They're just, And then the other group is the advisor, the psychology professor, and like some other shitty people. And they're drugging and raping girls. They're making people disappear. They're trying to be rich, prominent people, but really they're just shitty. So they had drugged these girls, including Olivia, including that girl who ended up drowning herself. They drugged them, raped them, and who knows what else. And then convinced them while they were in their drug state that they should kill themselves. And so that's what they did. She finds out about Kaz being a vanguard, and she's like, oh my God, is this all for real then? Like, did you just target me? And he's like, no, I tried to stay away from you because I'm a vanguard, but I fell in love with you. Her mother randomly shows up, and they have a conversation where her mother's like, I love you. I'm your mom. I don't know how to connect with you, but I still love you. That's why I call and check in, not just to save face, which seemed a weird flip considering all we've ever seen her do is kind of criticize or not even notice that she's not speaking. I mean, it's very strange, but anyway, I'll take it. And then her mother even approves of Kaz, even when she finds out he's a vanguard and she feels weird about it. Kaz, who has no other family, becomes very close to Salem's mother. He's welcomed into the family. Him and Salem live together since he doesn't have a place to live. Kaz is a really, really talented painter. And it's just kind of like nobody has seen any of his paintings hardly, but he's still really popular. Well, he ends up having a gallery showing, and he shows all his artwork. He sells it all for like millions of dollars. So congratulations, him being a 20-something millionaire now by his own right before he even gets his family inheritance, which he does eventually. He does get it. And then her mother was there, and he's like, oh, he's in love with you because he has a painting of her. And then there's an epilogue where we find out that Kaz and Salem get married and they're in love, and she becomes a very prominent forensic psychologist, or not psychologist, forensic scientist, where she gets to go. She's called in on the crazy murders that no one can figure out, or like the cold case files no one can figure out. And she's basically Bones. Have you watched that show where you have the like unemotional, brilliant anthropologist? Well, she's a brilliant forensic scientist. So, yay. That's what happened. I like this book. I really liked the storyline. I liked the intrigue. I liked the characters. I really liked Salem's friends that she meets there. I thought it was excellent. The writing, however, still not for me. It's still not for me, y'all. It's long-winded, a lot of inner dialogue, a lot of Salem asking herself questions, a lot of her describing how Kaz smells. She's like, I smelled him. He smelled like sandalwood and paint or something like that. I don't know, but he smells apparently good and also like paint, petrichor. So, yeah, it just, I mean, it went on and on. I think she was going for poetic, but it was overly flowery and just like very repetitive. So I felt this way about Gothicana, where I really liked the story. I liked the book, but the writing just kind of grated a little bit for me. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I'm still giving this book a 3.75, almost a 4. But the writing annoyed me just a little too much to feel good about a 4. So I'm going 3.75. And I still recommend it. I still liked Gothicana. I still like Enigma. I'm probably not going to seek out other RuNyx books. I mean, and maybe I will. They don't all have to be 5 stars, right? You could still just enjoy a book for the mystery of it, for the spice, for the intrigue, for the gothic vibes. Anyway, I'm giving the spice a 3.5. It was good spice. And she apparently wants to be dominated, but is weird about asking. So I thought that was great that he took charge and she liked it. And anyway, let's move on to quotes. Here's Salem. Curiosity was her catnip, mystery, her narcotic. And of course, that is an inner dialogue type of thing. It is not something she actually says. But to be fair, Salem actually doesn't talk a lot. So, whatever. This is Kaz, okay? I was a man on the path to damnation, and I saw salvation instead. Because being near you makes me feel something beyond rage. Because the chaos inside me quietens when I'm near you. You've become my muse, little asp. And that's like in response to her asking, like, why do you even like me? Which she asks a lot. She's like, I don't understand. Why do you like me? Why are you interested? Okay, so then she asks him, can I trust you not to destroy me? And Kaz responds, depends on the destruction. I really liked Kaz. I thought he was sexy. I thought he was hot. I thought he was broody. I don't know. I thought he was a good pairing to Salem, but like I said, I got a little in the weeds with the writing a bit, and it took away. All right, this is my final quote, and this is Kaz, and he says, life with you feels greater than death because you make the artist in me burn with the need to create, make the man in me burn with the need to possess, make the killer in me burn with the need to protect. You make me want to live, Salem. Ooh, that's sweet and sexy, and again with the gothic broodiness. For casting, I love my casting because I could not help but picture Salem as a woman of color with the wild curly hair and just like she's described as having these like yellow gold eyes that are very unusual. And I just think against a darker skin tone would be like crazy captivating. I could not. I mean, for Salem, I'm going Whitney Peak, and she was in Gossip Girl. She was Zaya in Gossip Girl, and she is gorgeous, and she has the wild hair. I mean, come on, right? And picture her with those golden eyes, just almost like a lioness, and I mean, with glasses, because she's brilliant, and just being serious and aloof, and just like, I'm going to figure this out. You cannot tell me to not do this. I mean, yes. Okay. And then for Kaz, I'm going Charles Melton with the longer hair and, oh my God, with the build, and he's sexy in that hard jawline. Picture him covered in tattoos and just being broody and yeah. Anyway, Charles Melton was Reggie in Riverdale and he was Austin in Beef. I've never watched Beef, but I can tell you Charles Melton is a snack. He is so gorgeous. And he has that jawline does it, man. And the longer hair. And yeah, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. It's so good. Okay, and that brings us to the end. We only have one more book left in the Dark Academia series. And y'all, it was another new read and it was so fucking good. I cannot wait to talk about it. So if you like this episode, please like, subscribe, rate, review, all the things. And until next time, stay spicy.
And that's it for this episode of Book Tease. Book and theme reveals and episode commentary can be found on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Book Tease Pod. Theme music is by The Scraps, and until next time, stay spicy.